Hey, it's Danny from ProjectManaverse.com, and in this video, you're going to learn 3 powerful productivity hacks that will save you time, dissolve the mental clutter in your brain, put you in a winning mind state, and help you to run your project on autopilot. And all that is going to help you to deliver your project on time to budget while leaving the office at 5 o'clock every day and not working ridiculous hours. So let's jump in. First of all, I want to talk about how important it is for a project manager to be productive and master productivity, save your time, because there is so much to do as a project manager. There are an array of distractions out there blocking you from doing the core essential habits that will ensure that your project is a success. There are a handful of things that you should aim to accomplish as a project manager. They're all quite straightforward, but they are important, but they are not urgent. And as such, we often put them aside to do other urgent things. And by not doing them, it starts to impact our project. It starts to take away the control over our project, and ultimately our projects fail. So we really need to create time for ourselves as project managers to ensure we can focus on these key habits. I'm not going to talk about those core essentials in this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 productivity hacks that will give you time and help you to move the project along by itself, essentially. So, productivity hack number 1, and this is the most powerful one out of all 3, and it might not sound very amazing or impressive on the surface, but it's really, really amazing. So, it is to clear your email inbox at the end of every day. Clear all your emails at the end of the working session. So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen what your inbox looks like with 0 emails in it? If you haven't, I implore you to try it as soon as possible, because it's such a feeling of space and mental relief and calm that you wouldn't believe what it does to your mindset. So I implore you to try it. And if you can clear your inbox at the end of every day, when you start work the next day, you turn on your computer and you fire up your inbox, you see there's no emails in there. It really puts you in a strong position. You're on the front foot and you feel in control as a project manager and you are ready to go. It's an inner game productivity hack. It changes your mental state so you can work in a more focused manner and more productively. So I encourage you to try it, because if you open up your inbox in the morning and you've got 2,000 emails in there and 100 of them are unread, you're in this catching up mind state in reactive mode, and you don't feel like you're on the front foot. You always want to feel like you're being proactive as a project manager, that you're on top of things, you're on top of the game, you know what's going on, you're in control. And when you have a massive inbox that's got thousands of emails in it, it doesn't give you that sense. So what you need to do is at the end of every day, I'll tell you what I do, make it easier. Just sort through your emails into subjects. So a typical project manager may have about 100 emails a day. And that might sound like a lot, but not all of those emails you're going to need to respond to. A lot of them are on the same conversational chain. So you just have to read through the conversation and see the latest one. Some of them are going to be updates from Jira that are not really important. Some of them are going to be emails that aren't relevant to your project. So it's that 100 might sound like a lot, but once you filter through them, there's not many that you need to address as a project manager. So what I do is I sort my emails by subject, so I can go through those email chains, they're all clumped together, scan through the email, and if I can't respond to it then with a quick response, and I don't have time to do it, well, I'll file it away into a certain folder so I can get rid of that, get out my inbox. I try to delete as many emails as possible, but those I need to save, I will push them into a subfolder, maybe just a general folder for my project. Sometimes I'll break that folder down into certain groups like approvals or project working group minutes, but don't have too many folders because then you start to lose things. Just try and keep it very simple. Just even if you have one folder for your project, that's fine. But as I say, you want to be deleting as many emails as possible and storing away the ones that you can't delete that you need for later. And if you can respond to the email and get it closed off in that session when you're clearing out your emails at the end of the day, all the better. If not, make sure you put a note on your to-do list to address it when you need to. So just do that. It shouldn't take more than about 20 to 30 minutes to go through your entire inbox, reply to the ones that you need to, and file them all away until you've got no emails left in your inbox and you get that feeling of, oh, that looks great, there's nothing in there. And when you come into the office the next day and you fire up your inbox and there's only one or two, that really puts you in a strong mindset and you'll be productive for the rest of the day because you've got that strong foundation in your mind. Okay, so that's productivity hack number one. Productivity hack number two is to build up your meeting agendas as you're going through the week. As a project manager, you'll have a lot of recurring meetings. You'll have, of course, the project working group, which I always say is the most important meeting for a project manager. You'll have a few other sub-working groups, potentially. You might have a few one-to-ones with people. So you're going to have these and you want to have agendas for them. You're going to have a standard agenda usually for those meetings, but what you want to do is try and build up a more specific agenda through the week. And you do that when the need arises. I'll give you an example. So as a project manager, you'll be there at your desk, you're working, and you realize, right, I need to speak to someone. I need to speak to John. And usually what we do is we try and speak to them right now because we want the answer. Give them a call or you send them an email or an instant messenger. But sometimes you can't get hold of them or you back and forth on the email chain or they'll call you back and they miss you. And you end up wasting a lot of time when if you could have just spoken to them immediately, it would have saved that time. So if it's not really urgent, what I'll do is I'll take that thing I need to speak to them about and I'll put it onto the agenda. I'll put it on the agenda list of the meeting where I know they are going to be it my project working group, or I might have a one-to-one catch up with them every week for 20 minutes. Get it on there and I can just move on to the next thing that I need to do as a project manager rather than trying to get hold of him and chasing him, going back and forward. And now when that project, that working group comes around or that meeting comes around, I've got a clear agenda. I'm ready to go through it. And you can even share that to people in advance. So they'll get into the habit of checking the agenda ahead of the meeting. And if they see their name on it, they can prepare to have that conversation with you. So that's a very powerful thing because it also frees up clutter in your mind again, rather than trying to hold on to that item you're working on because you need to speak to him and you can't get hold of them, so you move on to the next thing, but you're trying to hold that memory in your head and I've got to go back and speak to him. Now you can just let it go because you've got it on your agenda list and you know when that meeting comes around, you fire up your list and you can ask them then and there. So that's tip number two. Productivity tip number three is to schedule your action chasing. What do I mean by action chasing? First of all, what do I mean by an action? An action is just something that someone has to do. It's a task. And usually at the end of a meeting, you'll have a series of tasks that you need to, or that you have assigned to the people that were in the meeting, and they've got to do that action to progress your project. That's what the action is. And what usually happens is when you have, for example, a project working group, let's say you have 10 actions from that meeting that you've distributed among your team, you'll come to the next project working group, and maybe about 60% of them have been done, but 40% haven't. Now, that's just the way it goes, but you can actually increase that percentage by doing a few certain things. And one very simple thing to do is just remind people to do the action before the next project working group. And I like to give them two reminders ahead of the next week. One about 2 days after the initial meeting, and then one maybe the day before the meeting. So make sure if you have a project working group, you've got scheduled in your diary a reminder to send out an action chaser to that working group. And what I like to do is at the end of my project working group, I'll send out the minutes. There'll be a list of all the key points that were discussed. And after that, I'll have all the actions with names against them. So that will go out. Then what you want to do is cut and paste or copy and paste those actions into another email. So it's ready to go. So 2 days later, you can just send a group email to everyone saying, just a reminder, all these actions need to be done by next week. And then another one a day before the actual project working group. And if you're really clever, you can actually schedule this in Outlook. So you can actually say, right, send this email at this date at this time. So that way, when you're writing up your minutes for your project working group, you can get that done, cut and paste the actions, put it into another email, schedule that for 2 days, and then schedule another one for the day before the next meeting. So it's all done. And that way you are very easily increasing the chance of all those actions being completed by the next week. And it's almost like running on autopilot as well. And you want to you want to hoard as many of these petty advantages as you can as a project manager because they all add up. When people get their actions done on time, that means your key milestones are more likely to be met on time on your project plan, which ultimately means you're going to go live on time. So all these little tips and tricks and habits that you do as a project manager, it's just very simple stuff, but you just have to be disciplined to do them. So by doing it this way, you're getting into a habit and a routine. Even if you don't put it on the autoresponder, you're still making sure you're getting into the routine of checking in with your stakeholders and reminding them to do their actions before the next session. Okay, those are very powerful productivity hacks. I implore you to try them. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And until the next time, please take care.